Hello, I'm Mehrnaz Campbell, founder and CEO of Kimia and Kimia Reset. And thank you so much for joining us for our special December 2023 LinkedIn Live today. I'm really passionate about helping pharma field teams to get their arms around digital technology and feel confident about using technology to improve the engagement with healthcare professionals. I really want them to feel good about themselves and achieve amazing results. Is the human element of digital transformation, enabling people to use technology confidently to communicate with HCPs and deliver value is what I'm really passionate about. And to explore this topic, I've been inviting inspiring leaders to come and I'll learn from them and give them a platform so they can share their perspective. I'm really delighted to welcome Erasmus Holm, Director of Pharma and Commercial Operations at MSD Netherlands today. So before I bring Erasmus to the studio, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Erasmus, maybe parts that you might not know about him and how we met. Erasmus, as a child, used to watch a lot of TV. But what's really interesting and curious is he was only interested in the commercials. So it's no surprise now he's working within sales and marketing in the Netherlands as a director of pharma and commercial operations. Erasmus is a sales and marketing strategist who wants to partner with teams and colleagues to transform and grow the business, and making sure all along when he talks about B2B, he doesn't mean boring to boring. Before joining MSC 5 years ago, he spent over a decade working in global technology consulting companies in all shapes and different sizes. Erasmus focuses on finding what drives sales and creates a unique customer experience, and figuring out how you engage and impact people, balancing between new shiny things and reality and getting his hands dirty. He holds a BA in marketing communications from Copenhagen Business School, as well as several degrees within commercial design. So how we met was, we met first in Reuters in Nice. Coincidentally, we were both staying in the same hotel, so I spotted him over breakfast, so I went over and said hi and chatted to him. What I didn't know, that I found out a few weeks ago, that Erasmus told me while I was talking to him, apparently he spilled yogurt in his jacket. And he was all along talking to me, was figuring out how he's going to get this stain out of this jacket, because he was meant to be standing on stage doing a panel discussion, and he had no other jackets with him. So he is an amazing speaker. I've seen him talk at Next Pharma in Dubrovnik, and a few months ago, again, we were both at Pharmageddon in Barcelona. And the more I hear him talk and listen to him, the more I'm impressed with his grasp of reality and his creativity. So before we jump in and ask Erasmus questions, I just wanted to remind you that he's expressing his own views and he's not representing his company. And now over to you, Erasmus. It's great to have you here. I'm just curious to know, everybody's talking about digital transformation, but how do you define it? What does it mean to you?
So I define digital transformation as both digitalization of the processes you have, and then it's the big transformation where it's mindset, it's skill set, and it's tool set of people.
Mm-hmm. Different people have a different meaning, and I really like the way you broke it. You said digital is the tools and the technology, transformation is about the people. I sense that because you came from the background where you're already working on this, you had a much clearer idea of what that would mean, what you're going to do in MSD. But I don't think maybe everybody has that clarity. I talk to some people, they don't even have a clear digital strategy. What did you do that helped to bring that clarity and, help educate others in MSD?
I think you have to be very realistic, and you have to be also simple. So I think most pharmaceutical company would, I sometimes call it a skyscraper, right? We're a skyscraper. And if you have to move, do you want to move this entire building to something else? Or are you changing the windows and the facade, or are you moving people up around the different floors? What is it you're trying to achieve? Often you go in with a position that we're changing the core of the company. We're moving over here. We're not a drug manufacturer anymore. We are a data company, for example. I heard that even in my own company, and I profoundly disagree with that. Because if you do that, then you have to have a profound shift in your whole business. And what is
Mhm.
happening is that the pharmaceutical industry, in most cases, is not on a burning platform. So the desire to change is fairly low. So you do incremental changes. So you change the windows, you move people around the different floors. So you can have that comparison to adding digital to your marketing efforts, or you upskill people within analytics, kind of moving people around the floors, and you adding some new things and changing some of the windows. That's what's happening. So it's a digitalization of the processes, but it's not really changing the core of the business. Very few big companies has actually changed the core of the
Mhm.
business and really become a different company. And no pharmaceutical company has done that yet. So you have to be realistic. You have to keep it simple, and then you have to not be distracted by the new things as well, which has happened a lot of times. So, and I did it
Mhm.
myself when I came in. I was
Mhm.
super enthusiastic about chatbots in the beginning. Oh yeah, let's do a
Yeah.
chat, and we did it, and of course, naturally, it was success for a few weeks and months, and then it kind of just drizzled off, because in the end, at least on the commercial marketing side, is you have to fix we had to fix the fundamentals, and the fundamentals
Mhm.
were just our interactions with our customer, making that impactful, making it about quality, not quantity, and being fine with that. It's not about sending 10,000 emails more next year. It's really about having that more impactful engagement, and slowly then experimenting. That was the strategy that we have. But of
Mhm.
course, we were distracted by trying new things out, and for some, it was other pharmaceutical companies have been through some of the same things with next best engagement, actions, analytics, and of course now it's all about AI this
Mhm.
year, next year. So, and that will continue for a while. So, but if you don't have your fundamentals there as well, then your digital transformation will never be there, because you'll be constantly trying to transform and run after the new shiny thing.
What I've learned more and more is not sweat it, it's okay if it doesn't work out, but look at the meaning that you learn from that experience. And, I love your realism, the fact that you're saying you can't change the whole building immediately. You need to pick what's more important and work on that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you really have to pick your battles, and you have to find out
Mhm.
where are you right now, and where are you in this skyscraper, and what do you want to do with it if you want to do your digital transformation. Is it a marketing effort? And I want to also be clear, it's a commercial aspect I'm coming from, because if you are in R&D, then it's very different. If
Mhm.
you're in R&D, you should go all in on AI and digital transformation. That's for sure, because it's going to matter a huge deal for our drug development in the future. There's no doubt.
Mhm.
But it's two different approaches. But if you are in the commercial space, you have to find out so where is your skyscraper placed? Is it kind of over there where your market is mature and you not don't have maybe a lot of launches, and you have some very GP focused products and so on, and then you have maybe one approach you have to go to. Maybe it's about scale, and maybe it's about consumer activation. Or are you in a different space where you're constantly launching smaller over-the-counter products?
Mhm.
Then it's a different approach potentially. Then you need to change something differently, and maybe you have to have some high-focused teams. You bring a lot of people from externally that can really teach you how to do omnichannel, for example. So that is some of the digital transformation levels, and it's quite, I would say, fundamentals levels. But is it really then digital transformation? Normally, we would say a lot of people would define digital transformation as something grander. But I think just have to be realistic. Is a digitalization of our industry, because our industry is not profoundly transforming. It's slowly evolving, but it's not a profound transformation that any pharmaceutical companies are really going through.
You brought so much clarity to this term digital transformation today. I really love that. I don't think anybody has explained it as eloquently that you have done today. Digital transformation comes in two parts. The digital part is about digitalization of the industry. The transformation is about the people element. And what you clarified here that I really loved is you said you need to think about what you're trying to do in your business, and the digital transformation element relates to what the outcomes you're looking for. So I was just going to ask you to elaborate on the people side. How do you believe we can empower teams to effectively utilize the digital tools? How can we help them to transform in that direction?
With the digital tools, sorry, I was reading one of the comments, but yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
No, no, no. To answer your question, so we can take that one from
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, well, again, I'm speaking for myself here, but a short comment on maybe what we would think about in MSD, what factors would is deciding on investments in new digital technology is multiple factors. It's probably first and foremost what impact will it have for the business and which part of the business. I think in the end, for MSD, a lot of the initial investments has already been happening for years. And I think for a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, there are, at least when we talk about the marketing and sales side. And then it's more utilizing them because we are probably reach a point where the technology runs faster than we transforming. So
Mhm.
that when new features gets added, we're still not maybe ready to utilize all of them. Or doesn't make sense for maybe our compliance part as well. So I think right now probably the biggest investments that I imagine our global teams are looking at is within AI, and then there's definitely a deciding factor there would be risk and security. So that has become a more and more important factor in the future, because I think we have the tools to really have impactful engagement with our customers. So now it's about what's the next thing, and then what's the risk about those things. So a risk factor, 5 years ago, we never had said risk, but today, definitely a data and compliance risk is definitely a very deciding factor as well.
And how do you bring the people on that journey, enable them to, be aware of the risk, but also utilize the tools that you're investing in?
That's actually a really good question, because the mindset of people is so important in any kind of journey you want to do. So people normally raise their hands when you say, hey, who wants change? And then you say, hey, who wants to change? And then the hands comes a little bit down. And then when you say, hey, who wants to lead the change? Then there's
Mhm.
almost no hands left. And that's very, and especially when it comes to risk, that's even less hands, because you want to hear about the next shiny things. You want to move fast, and many of companies, both pharma and non-pharma, have brought in a lot of talented people, I'm sure, within data, within marketing, within content, and they want to move too, and they want to explore the boundaries. So it's really to highlight and find the right environment where we can operate, the right frame where we can operate, and really make it clear this is the boundaries, and it's okay to go to those boundaries, but we don't want to cross them ever.
Mhm.
Because that brings a lot of risk for the business, for us, and potentially also customers and patients on how we communicate. So you have to have really the good. I normally say you have to find who's the people you can contact and talk to, and about, okay, I want to do this. How far can I go? And then really explore it and ask the questions. Keep on asking the questions, because normally, at least in our industry, we stay well within the boundaries. But you really have to have a clear understanding where the boundaries is, and then be an advocate for, well, please try to explore the space you're in, but this is the space. And we all have, and I think there's a lot of about leaders, they have to have a driving the teams forward towards those boundaries, but then having a clear understanding where they are. And it's difficult because they change, and it requires a lot of, especially for creative, innovative people that we brought in. It's maybe not easy to go and read all these standard operating procedures and all that stuff and keep up to date with that. So that requires a lot of leaders to really stay up to date on what you can do and not do.
So, have you done anything specifically in MSD to address the mindset, or create a culture that encourages, pushing the boundaries within the limits of the compliance? Have you done anything to specifically address that?
Yeah, and that's a super interesting question, because I'm a firm believer in that you create an environment,
Mhm.
but you cannot force that environment. So one thing is setting the organization up and bringing in people that has a drive, but also understands that has some patience as well, because of the compliance things that might happen. So we brought in a lot of talented people in the Nordics and Netherlands as well, and they have to have the right mindset, the patience, maybe coming from outside, and then all the people who have experience with pharma and know the limitation has to have patience with the people coming in and really teach them about the pharma industry. So you had that perfect mix, and that creates the environment.
Mhm.
But you cannot do online learnings. You cannot do, a lot of trainings. You cannot do a lot of webinars, internal webinars or workshops, and then think that will be fixed. That will only have a very, very small incremental change. The most important part is to be hyper focused on creating an environment, and there's no formula for that, to be quite honest. It's simply about finding the right people that have patience, and then making sure there is this cross-functional work where they share their learnings from both sides. And then you have the right teams. But if you siloed people in too much, I think it's fine to have digital teams and then to call them digital teams for a while. But at some point, you have to merge things together. You can't have digital over here, because then it's not your responsibility, and commercial sales over here and marketing over there. It's, in the end, you have to really merge these things together, because the customer doesn't really care if it's coming from one end to the other. They just look at what they're kind of receiving or interacting with. So creating the environment is something I speak about quite a lot, but I also don't have a formula for it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's hiring the right people, making sure they have the right environment to work in, and then slowly magic starts to happen. I've seen it in one country I was in not that long ago, in the Nordics, and when you start, the team was just establishing themselves, and after a year or two, they came to me and said, "Hey, Erasmus, now we're using all these digital tools almost optimally. What's next?" And that's beautiful, because we didn't have to push anything. It just came organically when we brought in new people and had the senior people there to kind of interact with each other, make great marketing and interactions and great customer experience. And in the end, they were just evolving as a team with a great leader as well. And then you see it, and that was some of the most beautiful digital transformation I've seen for quite a while in pharma.
That's a really good example. I think listening to you, Erasmus, I think the key things, even in the example that you shared, people coming and asking for more, is you had already, or that affiliate had empowered people to take ownership of this journey, and now you, as a leader in Netherlands, you have the kind of like the gift and opportunity to empower people. And I notice in countries where the leaders are creating that culture of empowerment, the digital transformation happens faster and more organically. You must have a recipe. What is it that you do? Maybe one or two things you do that gives people the signal that you are empowering them and they are allowed to go and play within the boundaries of the compliance. Do you know what that is?
I think it's about having a humility and a vulnerability to being, and then sharing a lot of experiences as well with them, and also the failures. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of sharing failures, and I think a lot of the great leaders, and we have many of them within MSD as well in Netherlands, they're not afraid of being vulnerable and telling them that, well, this was what I'm thinking, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and I want you to go and try, and also there will be no repercussions for if you fail. Rather, we encourage that. We don't want, okay, it's 10 out of 10 failures, of course, but we don't, because they'll learn, and we have great people, so they will learn from the things that they did. Mm-hmm. They'll learn from the campaign that didn't fail. They will learn from the initiative. They'll learn from the content that we try to do, and we learn from the push initiative we try to do on the PR and the communication that maybe wasn't compliant and enough, and then that was stopped before it came out. Those things is what we're learning, but only because we're bringing people that really wants to try and go to those boundaries. And you have to then create an environment by being a vulnerable leader, a leader that also really encouraged them to go and try. And then, of course, as you mentioned, really empower them and give them the opportunity, that space to really go and try.
So it almost is like let go of the total control and trust your people that they're going to own it and drive it forward.
Of course. I think that's what we want everybody to do, and I think that's what every modern leader is also set up to do. So that's not really a extraordinary formula. I think everybody should be there, but you can have I think it's also being, of course, the company you're part of, because there can be trends from almost global all the way down, where you can be pushed to saying, well, this is only the things you're allowed to do. I think we have a company that does at the moment both having some mandatory things, which is where we want to go. Then at the same time, giving the opportunity for people and subsidiary and regions to go within a certain space to really go and try, because a global company cannot balance everything out in terms of the right culture, the right communication, the right messaging for everybody. But they can, make some directions and then really give the freedom. But if you have a total freedom for everything, then you also have a lot of resources wasted. Yeah. And it's that kind of cocktail mix between what do you want to have on different levels, regional, global, local, is also very important. I think we're constantly moving towards the right balance there, but I think we've come pretty far the last few years, and that's, I think, quite important for a company as well. I'm sure someone sits in a company where you think it's always maybe a little bit chaotic, and some other companies where it's completely streamlined. You don't have that space to really go and explore.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking from outside in, you have an environment that encourages that culture of empowerment and, testing and failing. Not every company and not every leader nurtures that. So congratulations for creating that culture. And I think in my observation, looking from out in, companies who have that culture are moving faster, because it's not just the leader leading it, it's everybody else in their team leading in that direction. We've got a comment from Brian Shore, kind of like saying he acknowledges your great point that at some point you have to merge digital skill set mindset in all the teams. It's not just a division on its own. So thank you, Brian, for commenting that. Do you want to add anything else to that, Erasmus?
No, I think, well, when I came into the company, then I had digital transformation in my title, and it was one of my first missions was to get rid of it. Because when digital happens over there, that's your responsibility. It's the digital team, it's Erasmus' responsibility to do digital transformation and do digital. And my comment was, it's not, it's everybody. And I think it's the same. I'm probably someone will arrive in 2024, if not already, with AI in their title. AI ambassador or AI transformation lead. Pretty sure that will happen very soon. And that's to that person, get rid of that very fast, because you need to. I think AI is somewhat of course trend right now, but it would definitely be an everyday use of tools, and the same with digital, whatever tool it is. And we have to have everybody on the journey to really make sure that they use it and provide some value. And also at the same time, make sure we don't misuse it and just don't get the right messaging and the right stuff to our customers, because they can also be overwhelmed by everything that Pharma is trying to do with them.
And I think, like anything else, any shiny tools, AI is an enabler to get us to the goal. It's not the nirvana or the goal on itself. It's just coming back to the key things about creating a positive, successful customer experience. And the AI is a tool that enable us to maybe personalize or respond better. Which brings me to this question. I'm really curious to know whether you can share an example of successful customer-centric campaign that you have done utilizing digital tools in MSD.
Yeah, so it's not even me who done it. So I'm just gonna share someone else, and then be very, very clear that it was not my idea, but I saw it happening in Norway, where we did an amazing campaign on vaccines within HPV, and it was you had the environment there, you had the team, you had some really creative people, and that came in and said, hey, we want to do and really want to engage with the youth in Norway and talk to them about HPV, and specifically genital warts, which is not a most sexy topic. Well, it depends on how you look at it, I guess, but it's definitely not something that's that easy to talk about. And some very creative ideas around how to really interact with these people. And then at the same time, when something organically happened, because what did happen in the campaign was that some of these pictures with talking about genital warts, they came online on Tinder and Instagram, and then some kids started commenting with emojis, cauliflower emoji, and you can kind of put two and two together, and we thought, what's happening here, right? So that's and then we just they tapped into it and said, hey, we're gonna just continue, and we're gonna do an emoji campaign with cauliflowers and different vegetables that of course would maybe symbolizing genital warts, and then it became an emoji campaign that scaled to other countries and was inspiration for other countries to also do HPV campaigns around genital warts. And I thought that was very customer centric, that you kind of, instead of just freaking out from a compliance perspective and thinking, hey, what's happening? We don't understand this culture. We're just going to tap into it, and then we're gonna really lean into this is a quite fun and interesting way of communicating, and then we're going to scale that out. and even to went to influencers later in other countries. So I really was inspired by that, and I take zero credit for that campaign. But I thought it was a great kind of a Norwegian MSD campaign that I still talk about today and I still remember very fondly.
That's so brilliant, because it's kind of like not what Pharma wants to tell to the audience, is how the audience responds. So what was the vegetable you settled in? Which one like performed better than anything else in communicating the core message about the boards?
It was the aubergine.
Really? Okay.
Well, yeah,
Did you
aubergine.
go for the organic color, or did you change the emoji color for aubergine?
Oh no, you should not change it because then people don't understand it. I can actually quite remember very clearly in the beginning. They also came and I was part of a meeting where they were pitching memes, and
Hmm.
I'm big into memes. I love memes, but they were pitching pictures of memes that were not the real pictures that's used in memes. So for those of
Hmm.
you who's into memes, you understand there's some specific pictures you use. Sad bear and a small kid with a clenched fist and so on. And then you find something pictures that are not exactly the same, because from a compliance perspective, you guys couldn't use the same pictures. And I said, that's not never going to work. You're just trying to fake. It's a typical Pharma thing. You're tapping into something and you just become like this, fake company trying to do something that's not authentic. Don't
Hmm.
do it. And we luckily didn't do it, but we tap heavily into the emojis and don't change the emojis. You have to look at this. You're talking to young people; they will see if you're trying to make a fake, emoji and trying not to be real. So no, the real aubergine color and the real aubergine emoji.
And I think that's one of the things I really love about your posts on social media and how you appear. You're just so authentic, and you're almost unique because you're quite happy say what you're thinking and stay to what you think is true rather than trying to make it corporate. Which brings me to some research, because we did some research, look at your post, and my team picked up on an interview you had done. And in that interview, you made a statement saying, move fast and break things, learn from your loss making change efforts and innovations. And I'm just curious to know, do you have examples of things that maybe you moved fast and broke something, and what you learned from it that you can share with us today?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and I didn't even come up with that title originally. So, I guess move fast and break thing is the tech influence. So the tech industry's slogan.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I mentioned a chat, but that's definitely one that I did a lot of pilots also, and someone in the industry, not me, said that the pharma industry has more pilots than the airline industry. And
Hmm.
I did some of those, definitely experimentations and pilots and things. And then we keep on saying, yeah, we do this pilot and we scale. And then most of the times it doesn't. And I did a chatbot, I think I mentioned earlier. And I think one of my things in the beginning was I definitely got distracted by new things.
Hmm.
And then we go down the route as well in pharma. We are distracted by the new shiny things, and then we go all in on something like
Yeah.
VR goggles for everybody. And then 2 years later and thousands, maybe millions of euros later, and then they're just lying around in some sales reps closet. And that happens still a lot. And that's why I say, if you don't have the fun, I keep talking about the fundamentals as maybe a little bit boring, but get the fundamentals right and make sure that you have the right type of engagements, and that is actually something that they generally also may not even not maybe not want, but actually interact with
Hmm.
our customers, whatever kind of customers you have, and then keep on just making sure that you have some consistency in your communication there as well. If you have that, then you can start moving into um, some of the more shinier things. So that was what I've learned, at least, broke things. I broke some of the experiences in terms of, we're going to try this out. Okay, it worked, doesn't work, and then you continue with it or not. So it is the pilots and the scaling, but some of it did work in the very end.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing that. I actually refer to the term pilotitis in my book, because I think
Oh,
farmers fascinated by doing pilots, but they never scale them. Even if they see results, they just kind of like move on to the next pilot. So it's inflammation disease related to pilots. I'm just going to have a question for our audience, and at the same time, I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe we can like compare notes. I want our audience to share with us here what do you think are the qualities you want to see in a leader that would make you feel empowered and allows you to take risk and push the boundaries? And my question for you, Erasmus, is this quality that you have in terms of openly sharing things that you break or move fast and break, do you think that's an important quality for a leader to create the environment that we talked about earlier on?
I think it's super important to share failures. I think it's very important to be very competent, of course, in the areas that you have, and then empower. You make sure that people bring ideas, and you support the ideas, and then you support when they fail, and then you support them when they succeed as well, to kind of continue. I think that really is most of my job, to be quite honest, is to do that. Because if you, I normally say I just try to hire people a lot smarter than me constantly, and then I'm confident enough not to be threatened by that in any way, and then just try to help. And that's exactly the situation I have now in Netherlands, and I had it before in the Nordics, just having a lot of much smarter people than me, and then I try to help them and support them. And then when we fail, I help them out, and when we succeed, we do the same. And then we try things, and then we're not afraid to say, hey, okay, this worked and this didn't work. And I think that also creates safety and an environment where people are also happy to work. And then I try to inject also a lot of fun in it as well. But that's a personal thing, that I like to have some fun, and hope the team also would like to have some fun normally. And that creates also hopefully a better environment. And when you have that environment, and you have trust between each other, that makes a lot of things easier.
So we've got a comment from Brian Schroer. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that. He says, leadership sometimes can be the culprit, shiny object syndrome, often with the best intentions, wanting to stay ahead, but that often throws team off on finishing the foundation work. How do you guide influence senior leadership on how to stay focused on staying on the course with the fundamentals versus the new shiny things?
Well, it's about being extremely vocal, and then if you have some what do you call rules called respects, or if people listen to you in the senior leadership, you need to push back, basically saying, hey, I've been down this road before, let's make sure we stay the course. Because and now I would say that to everybody that has done 2023, and then that doesn't mean that just because it's 2024 then everything is different. We have this tendency, of course, to say new year, new beginnings, new stuff. But if you really continue one thing that you feel had a really good impact, continue to build on it, make the changes, be consistent. I think consistency is one of the most impactful driver of marketing in pharma. And we have a tendency to change every year. I mean, on just some things, but not to be disrupt the organization. Be an organizational change, be it a new direction, be it new senior communication on, hey, now we're a data company and now we're AI company, and then suddenly people run around and say, hey, we shouldn't do that anymore. That was actually working pretty well. So I push back when there's too many new things coming. And then there's some few things where, of course, you have to start doing more of it. I think AI is definitely one of them. Analytics and data has been one for many years, but it also takes a while, and we move very slow in this industry, is my observation as well. And that's why the consistency is very important. So I advocate and I try to push back when, if there's some of the shiny object syndrome, as Brian mentioned, comes.
I think if you think about scientists and experimentation, which is the fundamental of drug discovery, the scientists don't change everything. They just change one element and see the impact of that before they change something else. And I guess maybe that's a lesson for marketing. If something's not working, keep trying, but move one element at a time to see what's the impact of having it versus not having it. What do you think?
Absolutely. Completely agree. But it's interesting you mentioned that, because we often try to apply. A lot of people will talk about innovation within pharma and within commercial marketing, and we're pharma-driven drug manufacturers. That is where innovation happens in the pipeline. But we have the mentality that many pharma companies have around innovation comes from drug manufacturing and drug development and drug discovery, and you apply that towards the commercial mindset. You see that, and that's a clash, because it's two different kind of innovations because one is science-driven linear, and one is a lot more chaotic, that with having streams going everywhere where you can actually arrive at something innovation. But you definitely see this clash coming between what is really innovation within pharma industry, and I think it's not something we have fixed at all yet, and it's kind of one of my personal missions to try to see if we can get somewhere where we have fundamental innovation. Sometimes innovation in pharma happens in an innovation lab somewhere, or within commercial, or special division, or maybe even completely disappeared, and it happens within local teams and then talks about innovation. I think small innovations is also good enough, but innovation within commercial in pharma industry is not something that's well established, and I have not seen a lot of it. And then we try to adopt, of course, omni-channel, and that's maybe an innovative approach for many pharma companies. But real innovation within commercial and within what we're doing in launching and marketing and selling our products is very, very limited, unfortunately.
Carol's giving you thumbs up and a clap. She's happy about your comment. You talk about the commercial teams, and you talk about enabling your team. How have you enabled the field team to own the engagement with HCPs, and maybe they move the boundaries and come back to marketing and saying this is the way we suggest, or give them freedom? Because traditionally pharma companies are quite directive about what they want the field team to do because of the compliance. This is a message you need to deliver, this is the frequency you need to say it, or these are the people you need to see. How do you give more empowerment to the commercial field team to do what's right?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. So I only been the last year leading some teams that had field force, and it's slightly new for me. I would say some of the advice that I also can take from the Nordics was that we often have we hyper focus our field force to go in with some certain messaging and do very hard measurements on how many meetings do you have, and how are you engaging, and then we're trying to link that to somehow some behavioral changes. And I think that is still, and it still have probably been like that for many years, and will probably continue still in the future. And we're also continuing parts of that as well. I am trying to also bridge the gap around that maybe it's not that important if you have 2 meetings a day, 5 meetings, or 8 meetings a day. It really is about making sure that you are empowered as well to make the biggest impact for the customers, making sure that you have the opportunities, that we don't just give you a very tight script and then you just go and deliver that, and then everybody's happy and we can check mark something somewhere. So it's actually back to whatever empowerment you have for your marketing teams is the same you have to do for your sales team. That's how I see it as well. And then we shouldn't just measure on how many interactions you have. It's really about the total impact. And then in the end, I really don't care if you have that many interactions to do it, because you know the customer better than I do, and you know what will work better. So I just have to trust in you to do the thing that matters the most. And then you have to trust me that I support you if someone comes and say, hey, why didn't you do 5 calls yesterday? That's not important, because we get the results still, and we have the right positive relationships and impacts with our customers.
I love that. I give you a thumbs up and a clap for that, because being on the interface with the customers, one of my biggest goal is not to waste HCP's time. So it's not about knocking on their door, it's about being really relevant and delivering value. And we find, I've been doing this for maybe 20 years now, if you are delivering value, instead of chasing the numbers, you are focusing on how you can solve their problems, then they want to engage with you more because they're getting value from that interaction. So I'm really, really excited that you're already creating that culture in MSD. And if in our audience, anybody from the field team is here, I'd really like to hear whether you have that culture in your organization, or what would be on your wish list that you would ask people like Erasmus to give that empowerment to you.
Can I ask you a question? Now you bring it up. Maybe
Go for it.
I'll take the chance to ask you a question. So how will you see the future as well for the field force in pharma?
I think the future of field force is much more closer alignment with medical and marketing. I see us as one team geared to deliver value to HCPs, so in turn the HCPs can deliver value to the patients. And I think the frontline field teams maybe have more interaction with the HCPs. So we need to be a conduit to bring back that insight to marketing. And the teams that we work on, we give direction to marketing, what content we need, because we hear it from HCPs. And then they work closely with medical to create that. So speed up the pace of creating relevant content for HCPs at the time they need it could only happen if field team works so closely with medical and marketing. So we are just one team. And I think it's about field team realizing is I'm not a lone wolf going here to sell product. We are a team. There's a whole function behind me. And how can I utilize everybody else who's supporting me to deliver value to that HCPs? And sometimes that person may not be me. It might be an MSL. It might be medical information. But it's just we all align together to, with purpose, deliver value to HCPs. And I think we need to be a lot more focused around segmentation. Not everybody in every geography is going to love all of our products. So we need to segment geographies and HCPs based on their pain point, and maybe not promote some of the products in some geographies because there's not a demand for it, but put more investment in other geographies where it is a better match between the HCP's pain point, the patient's pain point, and what we've got to offer.
Yeah, I'm glad we are heading that direction as well. So glad that.
Cool. So I've got a big question for you.
Oh.
If you could leave a lasting impact in pharmaceutical industry, what legacy would you aspire to leave and create?
Yeah, and I knew this question was coming, and I really it's the most difficult question I ever had asked, to be quite honest, because it's so much about suddenly I feel old and about legacy and I hope I still have a way to go. But I'll be very honest with you. I don't think I'll have a lot of lasting impact on the industry itself. At the best I can hope to have is some impact on the people that I work with. That's really what in the end I hope to have.
Mm-hmm. What do you like them to say about you?
I would like to say that I hope that I've helped them. That's all, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
That's and we had some good times, and we did something that was meaningful somehow together. That's all I think I can really hope for. I don't think that unfortunately that will have more impact than that, but that's good enough for me as well.
Again, you being realist and totally authentic, and I really love about you. So I'm going to ask you, in terms of your predictions, what's your predictions from the pharma industry in 2024 and perhaps in the next 5 years? Because you said you're going to be around for a while, so maybe you've already mapped out what the next 5 years is going to look like.
No, I think so. The easy predictions, I'm going to give you two easy ones and then two a little bit maybe more tougher ones. Two easy ones is personalized medicine and digital health. It's two ongoing trends, and we'll see a lot more of that with personalized medicine for sure the coming years, and the digital health. Of course, I'm already experienced it here in Netherlands, where I couldn't get an appointment with the GP around just getting a prescription. Something very basic because it has to be some digital, and a lot more of that is coming, and I think there is an opportunity for pharma also to be more invested in that. But it's two that are obvious, I would say. So that's the easy ones. The more difficult one, I think, drug pricing. Drug pricing is a trend, and we will continue to talk about it in this industry and outside the industry a lot more. Netherlands is not a necessarily easy country to also discuss drug pricing. I think some of the countries like Netherlands and also where I came from, the Nordics and other European countries, will be a lot of that. We see what's also happening in the US. So drug pricing for this industry is going to be quite a big topic the coming years, and some good discussions around it, I think, to be fair as well. And I think our industry has such a profound impact on society, and that should be recognized. But I think we should have a discussion around how that really is what is the best models, and there could be many different models to try out as well. So I think that will be a topic for 2024 for all of our pharma companies, and I think it will also be in the media a lot. Another thing, the last one I would say, prediction would be weight loss. Okay. So yeah, the weight loss drugs, they're here, they're coming. The biggest news story for me in 2023 was Ozempic for Novo Nordisk. From our home country, from Denmark, and there'll be other competitors coming very soon. And if we can eliminate a massive amount of obesity in some of our Western world, imagine the industry and the trends that will come from that. The travel industry, the fashion industry, the food industry, all industries will be impacted by if we suddenly have this change in weight loss. So I think that's the biggest news story actually of 2023, almost, at least from our industry, but maybe even within the business side of news. And it will continue into 2024, and we'll continue to talk about it.
Thank you for sharing your predictions. So your predictions are digital health, drug pricing, and also the weight loss.
And personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine. I just wish personally that instead of people, because I know people here in the US, a lot of them are taking weight loss drugs, but they're still eating like they did before. I just wish people would change lifestyle, because that's probably a more logical way of addressing weight gain rather than eating tons of food and taking the weight loss medication. So I just hope that we kind of like move more towards lifestyle changes and prevention rather than treatment. But that's another interview and another whole lot story.
I tend to agree, but I think it's also evolution. Like we also had I think it was the same almost 100 years ago when people didn't get enough vitamins. And then you had the vitamin pill, and now we don't really think about, do you get enough vitamins? It's almost not a conversation anymore. And I know weight loss is a bigger topic than that, and a maybe potential bigger impact on your life. But I think that's the way things are moving in the coming years. It's so impactful, these products, and obesity is a big problem, and how it will affect how it is affecting also the healthcare system, and it really is a very, very interesting development that we're seeing there. And a lot of people just have tried a lot of things and can't get, and maybe if it could be the bump to really get them over the finish line. I'm a big advocate for seeing that trend in humanity and how that will change in the coming years. So
absolutely,
biggest news story of this year, and will continue in 2024.
Absolutely, because it's a culprit behind a lot of long-term conditions, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, even pain management. So if we could control the weight, then everybody would have better quality of life. I totally agree with you. Erasmus, you've been absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed chatting to you, and I'm sure our audience really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for all of you who joined us on this Friday leading up to Christmas, contributed to the chat, asked questions, and enrich this conversation with Erasmus with your input. This was our last LinkedIn Live in 2023, and we will be back with a big bang in January 24, because we have a virtual LinkedIn Live to launch my book, The Omni Advantage, Accelerating the Behavioral Change with Omni-Channel in Pharma Sales Engagement. And I have contribution from 5 amazing people: Paul Sims, James Harper, Florent Edward, Paul Tunner, and Kun Janssens. And it's going to be on 18th of January. So please come and join us. And if you would like to read the book, you can order it from Amazon's and Waterstones and all the major book suppliers. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you, because it's been amazing to have your input and support for these series. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas if you're celebrating it. If you're not, happy holidays and happy and healthy New Year. I hope you enjoy the break. And I know we keep talking about digital transformation and tech and shiny stuff, but let's unplug. Let's unplug from technology and connect with the real people in our family and friends for a couple of weeks. And I really look forward to seeing you in 2024. Thank you from me. And thank you, Erasmus.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure having you. Bye.